You wonder why you get hate, Josh. That's probably don't poke bears.
Hello everyone. Today's video topic has been covered so many times by so many creators already, but I wanted to give my own opinion and commentary on it. There's plenty to say about the Dad Challenge podcast, so I'm going to do my best to give a quick overview of the channel and go more in depth on specific topics to try and make this video as short as I can, which is not going to be easy because there is so much to cover. As always, all sources and any videos where I got clips that I did not make myself will be linked below, and I suggest checking them out yourselves to understand the gravity of Joshua Barbour's actions fully, because there are hours of videos covering him, and over 50 creators are speaking out against his immoral actions. Before we start, I want to give a quick warning. I don't condone sending any hate or negativity to any of the creators I talk about. But in this case, he will consider any criticism or even simple comments as hate, so if you interact with this video or any other creator's video about this topic, be cautious because he will read your comments and can easily go real life and send his followers after you. So be aware that your privacy and safety can be compromised, and protect yourselves as will I. But there really shouldn't be a risk when discussing the Dad Challenge podcast, because he also claims he doesn't watch his haters' videos, right? As you can already tell, I'm going to be talking about Joshua Barbour from the Dad Challenge podcast channel, a 43-year-old Christian ex-worship leader turned YouTuber who tends to get upset at anyone who isn't kissing up to him, calling it detraction, which is pretty ironic because detraction is considered a moral sin in Christianity, but what he does on his channel goes beyond being a moral sin. In my personal opinion, he's one of the most dangerous creators on YouTube, and I'm going to explain why I think that throughout this video. For those who don't know, he used to be a worship leader at a mega church until he got fired, and talks about it at length on his channel. He says he's against church, but is still Christian, and from his content, it's obvious that it's still a central part in his life.
We're not here to hate the church, okay? There are so many great churches out there doing so many things. We're not here to detract from Jesus and what he did, because I'm pretty sure Jesus would be on my side on this thing. Jesus does not like religion, people. God hates religion. Organized religion is one of the worst things that has ever happened in Western culture for believers. If I'm a person who's going to disrupt this, there is going to be some articles written about me. There's going to be hate thrown at me. You'll hear my stance, and you'll hear my stance from a perspective of an ex-pastor, a Christian, who thinks that the church has done it all wrong all these years.
Josh spent over a decade on YouTube, trying to get fame by any way he could, jumping from platform to platform and niche to niche, like his cinematography channel on YouTube, where he shared a video about starting a GoFundMe page for a single father and pizzeria worker who lived paycheck to paycheck and giving him the money. After his post about Pizza Dad on Imager went somewhat viral.
Yes, thank you so much, Imgur. You are amazing. What an amazing community of people get together that are just helping someone they've never even met before. Okay, so all I can float right now is $2 grand. But look at that thick stack of cash. That's friggin' awesome. Today?
About what?
I don't know. You heard anything?
No.
About anything?
No.
Alright, cool.
What,
Alright,
pizza? Is this about the pizza?
No, this is about, remember that thing we did? The pizza thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember when I said I had to go home to use the bathroom?
Yeah.
I didn't. I went home to post it. It went huge viral. Massively viral.
The aim was to raise $2,000, but his GoFundMe raised a little over $4,000 at the time, which was donated to Pizza Dad and documented on Josh's YouTube back in 2015. But the GoFundMe is still up and active today, and the donation amount is higher than what was donated to Pizza Dad by almost $3,000. So who are these donations going to? Only Josh knows. Correction. Although the GoFundMe is still active today, there are no recent donations. They were all made back in the day and reached almost $7,000 in January of 2016. Josh claims to be a Christian, but this good deed directly goes against God's words in Matthew 6:1. Be careful not to do your acts of righteousness before men, to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. Now, this situation is a little different because Josh wasn't donating his own money, but rather collecting it from the public and donating it for them, and the good deed was done by many people donating to the cause. So in this case, it makes sense to make a public announcement, a YouTube video, and ensuring there are articles available to the public telling about this selfless deed. Or does it? Let me know what you think. Getting shameless internet imager points surely wasn't the reason. In fact, Josh is so against donating for selfish reasons, he's willing to call out others for doing the same thing he's already done. Is it for internet points this time too?
If you're gonna do good things for people, don't tell anybody about it if you can help it. But that's the thing online, right? A lot of these guys put these videos out where they're helping homeless people, giving them money, coats, jackets, jobs. And I love that. I absolutely love it. But at the same time, we cannot forget the idea that they're doing it for their own fame. The first thing you do when you're being generous with your money and giving and all that stuff is you don't tell anybody about it. You're just not supposed to. God doesn't want you saying how generous you are to people. It makes it worse. It almost makes it like you didn't do it because you're doing it out of selfishness. So, these videos. I'm so Christian. Again, don't do this either. Don't film it. If you're going to go do something good for someone, Josh, go do something good. You don't have to film it. This is what makes this gross, because we know Cole's gross. Don't film this. It's not, you're telling his story online. Huge, and I told a little bit of your story, not a ton of your story.
On this older channel he created in 2006, Josh also made the office-style videos about his church and stuff worship pastors say videos, trying to get into the comedy genre. This idea was quickly abandoned when the content didn't work for him, probably because his humor only appeals to people who haven't matured past 15 years old. He also has the Burnt Out Pastor channel, where he talks about being fired from the megachurch he used to work at and revealed more details than he should have, something I will talk about later on. He even tried family vlogging, posted the births of his children, and other content of them, including the children being in diapers. He says he realized his mistakes and never intended to exploit his children online, but only took down this family content after being called out recently. He even had a channel dedicated to his daughter's singing, which he changed the name of and its profile picture, and privated the videos, also after being called out very recently. I'm not going to show anything related to his children here because they didn't choose to be put on the internet for the whole world to see, or have Josh for a father, who would strike anyone showing his children even when they're heavily censored. A favor he himself didn't extend to the kids of the creators he covers until very recently, when, you guessed it, he was called out for it. Makes me wonder if Josh can think on his own or have any critical thinking skills without someone around him telling him what to do or what's right. This is a common theme to his presence online. He makes mistake after mistake, not realizing he's in the wrong or reflecting on what he's done until it's pointed out to him explicitly. Josh finally hit the jackpot when he started covering Micah and James Stauffer, a YouTuber couple who focused their content around their family and kids, and especially their adopted Chinese son, who was rehomed, as they called it, once they decided they could no longer care for him. Like many others, this was when I discovered his channel, and at first it was interesting to see an adoptive father's perspective on family YouTubers and channels, and the harm they do to their children and society as a whole. Very quickly, his character became obvious, and I could no longer support him. At first, his channel was focused on talking about child exploitation and saving the children, but he did this by making fun of their parents, mostly the mothers, their looks, mannerisms, voices, houses, decorations, even Christmas ornaments, and calling it Snark.
They're just, you don't have the spiritual gift of snarking and making fun of people. And you know, that's fine. Not everybody is gifted with this.
I don't know about you, but to me it's giving.
I don't talk trash. I talk smack. They're totally different.
Why don't we let DCP grace us with some examples of his spiritual gift of snarking and make our own decision on said gift?
Oh, here comes the feet. Oh my god. Stop. What's the middle one wearing?
Hey, we had
Oh, she's the one with the curtain. She's wearing the curtain. That's Curtain Girl.
so much fun last night.
Is their hair real? I feel like is it real? Is there extensions? Is there...
No.
There's no babes here. There's a bunch of moms. No babes. You know what I'm about to say, right? Oh my god, this woman's hands are humongous. What is that a sign of? Her hands are huge. They're like tennis rackets. Whoa! Those are... Whoa! Don't walk backwards, weirdo. What is she wearing? What are they all wearing? Okay, if you have to hike down your skirt, shit's too short, lady. And you're, okay, I'm about to be probably ratioed for this. I'll probably get in trouble for saying this. But if you're pregos, like I get it, and pregnant women are gorgeous. And you guys all know that I think that pregnant women are like, boom, right? Boom. Chill. chill. All these people do is touch their belly on camera, and it's gross. And this one shows off her feet and her belly way too much, and her belly button is a no for me. It's not even like that pregnant, and the belly button's already like, so I'm making fun of her belly button, so come at me. But like, if you can't even walk without showing your vag, get a longer dress. Can we be real? Like, I don't even feel like you're comfortable when you have to be pulling that shit down.
My first blowout, I'm so excited.
The first one's always the best. It's the fastest one, but you'll never forget it. First blowout. Remember when I talked about the white girl dancing thing? This is it. They're like fake doing it, but like, look at me, and then like, laugh.
We're heading
Okay, did Bits of Tiff touch her belly?
to drive-by right now. We're gonna blow out.
Blowouts, everybody! I know what blowouts are. Do you know what they are? It's not what you thought they were. It's not like a female BJ. Stop wearing yellow! Why does she always wear so much yellow? Is it like, is yellow match with red? Okay, guys, you know, I'm an okay fashion guy. Like, I take pride in how I dress. Like, I like coats and nice shoes and shit like that. I'm not a bad dresser. But she's terrible. Okay.
Holy shit, that's far. Oh god, my heart just...
You're on the 30th floor almost, lady. Relax. Come on.
We made it to step one of our
She always says this. We made it! We're there for drinking!
adventures. We're actually going on a cruise. We're on a 4-day cruise to the Bahamas. But it's out of Miami because we have a 5.5-hour flight. We are staying in a little Airbnb for the night, and this is beautiful. Like a local, like a...
Airbnb is fridges, can counters, buildings, my car, so swimming, drinking, party! Jess, just relax. You know, it's just maybe chill. Wouldn't it be cool to just be like, hey guys, what's up, Jess fam? Check out this video I'm about to do. Let's just chill. Okay. So she's there for dinner. She's gonna have a shot here. She's gonna have 7.5 shots a day while she's on this cruise. Is that a lot? I feel like that's a lot. Didn't they just eat?
We're fueling up for our night ahead.
Fueling up for a night of debauchery. You can't tell me 7 of these ladies didn't go on to Sin City and one of them didn't do something. You know what I'm saying? Just saying. That one in the middle with the, like, I don't get this. Like, I understand eyelashes, I get it. Like, I wore them, they make you look sexy, they make you feel sexy. I get it. But, like, it's just, there's too much, right? There's ones that are like, what? Like, clearly that shit's fake, lady. Like, it's like you, I don't even know. Like, it's like this. Like, why? I'm ignorant. Ugh. Oh my god, you could have killed her. These are called, this is what I've learned also from this vlog. This is like going way back. When I read the comments, these are called woo girls. There's a name for people who do this, and it's only women who do this. This is how girls do it. People around you are like, what the hell? Mark card today. Bro Mark cards. We've got one that says, dude, you're having a baby, and the inside it says, congrats on the sex. Because that's what guys think when they see a pregnant girl. She definitely is. And then they see the guy, they're like, dude, wink. Good for you, bro. But if I saw a family vlogger in the wild, man, would I have some fun with that. Let's just be real. I would absolutely photobomb the shit out of that. I would be like, walk by and oh, sorry. I'd like, I don't know what I'd do. I would be hilarious. I'd walk by naked, whatever. Okay, I know I keep talking about this thing, but this Family Fest thing that happened, it's happening in Orange County, California, wherever it is. Oh, we're going. I just gotta be careful with it, because I want to show up to Orange County, California, and not be allowed into the park because all the family vloggers said, if you see this fat, ugly, bald guy, don't let him in. Teeth. Why do you associate yourself with them, Brittany? Don't associate yourself with her. Jess Fam is a trash piece of trash.
Okay, so when the camera goes off, this is a real life moment.
Every time I see Talia, I get a shiver. Like not a pea shiver, really. More like oh. You get that too? Fake hair and eyelashes and fake everything. Boom. It looks like they all got their hair at the same place. Like they just ordered it on Amazon or something. This hat. Remember this is the piss pool. This is the other angle of the piss pool. So this is the pool where there's like 500 people that are drinking full of jizz, piss, and shit. And people are literally just hanging out in this water that's like up to your like vagina. And it's just full of people's bodily stuff. Okay? Likely there's a couple dudes in there thinging. Okay? Just saying, disgusting. No, Trisha Paytas is on OnlyFans. I've not seen her OnlyFans. I will never look. Okay? But if you type in Trisha Paytas OnlyFans leaked, instantly you'll find it. OnlyFans is not protected because you have to pay for it. People leak shit all the time. When it's on the internet, it's forever. The problem I have with it is not that you want to do the sex work, it makes you feel good and all that stuff. That's a net positive for the person doing it, okay? But if you don't think there's just going to be ramifications when you bring children into the world afterwards, you're wrong, and it's selfish to do so. The conversation at the end here is that it's the same as working at a bank and grocery store. It's not the same thing. Though society does not, as a whole, okay, the majority of society, if I went out to the public right now and did dad on the street, which maybe I should do sometime, and I asked, depending on what city I'm in, okay, for real, if I asked 1,000 people if they think that being in sex work is the same as working any regular job, how many people do you think are honestly going to answer the question, right? If you asked anybody, I'd say the majority of those people would say, no, it's not the same. But they get a little private area. They're like, look at us up here dancing pregnants. pregnant dancing. Like, Tara is lived a different life. I don't know what her life is before. I have no idea anything about Tara. We're going to dive into her, obviously, learn a little bit more about Tara. But something tells me Tara's got a past. Just my gut. And you guys will likely tell me in the comments what it is.
Good morning. We have arrived at our destination. My voice. Oh my goodness. Look at this.
The water's blue, Jess. It's everything. Yay, blue water.
This is like their little. Oh, this is perfect. Hey.
Oh, we're going to have to listen to this all the time now. Her voice is going to sound like Zsa Zsa Gabor. Are we going to have to really listen to that? Get someone else to talk, Jess.
Oh my god. So I basically swam in sunscreen yesterday. I'm in that shit. I swear to you. And I still end up burnt.
What are you doing? Stop it. So Tara's on the left dancing like there's dollar bills in places. Then there's the curtain lady wearing the curtains. And then I think is that Bits of Bish with the no ass. And then I don't know who the lady is with the white shirt on. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Then I think it's some other lady that I don't know. And then it's Bits of Tiff. And they're all wearing these dumb ass shoes with the weird, like, fabric. I don't know what that is, and I don't like it. Okay. Floor and talking and see my unblended makeup. It's gonna be so good. My eyebrows are like two giant caterpillars fighting for the honor of their families. It probably smells like your vagina.
Like I said, this is just a clean.
And this one smells like, why does it smell? What? Nobody wants vagina cleaner smell. Scent. That's Love Meh's vagina. Why did you, what? Why? Welcome, Love Meh. You're welcome. Here we go, the fakeness. Make out with me on camera. People need to know we're together. I'm sorry. I can't take it seriously. I can't take her seriously. Like, oh my god, let me pose for this picture in this yellow bikini. That's weird. Swimming with pigs. I don't understand people.
So now that I've gotten some laundry going and
Holy, blend your shit, lady. Even I know that, and I know nothing about makeup. It looks like you walked into a fire pit, and we're like, poof. Is that a thing? I feel like it's a bit much to put that much makeup on to do laundry in your underwear. Like, it's a bit much. It changed. Are we gonna see the vagina spray? I'm sorry. I will never not ever think that spray smells like a vag now. It's just in here forever. It is never leaving. And it's never leaving your way. You're welcome.
here today
How
because
long is this? Love Matt. Chill with the shirt. Put some pants on. Chat, if you missed the earlier part of this whole thing, we talked about what to get your dad for Father's Day. And it boils down to one thing. You can get a lot of gifts for your dad. I gave you some suggestions. But the one main thing you should get, your dad in your life, is a BJ and a nap. So we're going to write a song called that right off the top. BJ and a nap. Or a Tesla. If you want to buy me a Tesla, I'm cool with that too.
Check out Marissa's video for the full compilation. Very quickly, his original message was overshadowed by his nasty attitude, misogynistic and hateful views, and overall vain outlook on life, based in clear unaddressed trauma from his own childhood. He says that making fun of women if they change their bodies like Transformers is fair.
But I do make fun of surface level things like their parents and stuff like that. Never any deep-seated things. I think it's fair game that if you're going to push a whole ton of chemicals and everything in your body, I'm allowed to comment on it. But if something that you did to yourself, like a Transformer, I'll make fun of you. So just wanted to point that out.
But fails to realize that he's changed his own body like a transformer when he got weight loss surgery in another country.
I started researching, trying to get this gastric bypass or gastric sleeve, right? And I said, I gotta do something. I can't do this anymore. I'm heartbroken. I have to try something drastic or I'm going to die. And the Ontario government told me that I'm not fat enough because my BMI wasn't high enough to be eligible for the surgery. I was very strong. I could do lots of things, but I was also really strong. So, because my body mass had a lot of muscle, also I was big, they're like, you're just not eligible. There's other people who need it. Plus, if you want to get elective surgery in Ontario and Canada, it's really difficult. Even though it is paid for, but they make that one really difficult to get paid for because then everybody would go do it. So I just looked on Facebook and started looking at surgeries and seeing what people were doing who were denied this ability to do this in Canada. And then I stumbled upon surgery tourism. And I said, okay, well, let me take a look at this. Because I've tried everything. At this point, I've had it. I will do whatever it takes, okay? And I stumbled upon this one page and they said, okay, this is what I did. I went over to Tijuana, Mexico, and I hired this surgeon, and there's this like medical tourism industry, and there's like a broker that you can hire, and they'll get you connected to a doctor. There's research you have to do, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this.
There's plenty of footage out there of Josh making fun of women's looks, bodies, mannerisms, and habits of partying and drinking, even if they only do it rarely on special occasions. Josh says he makes fun of mothers for drinking, partying and having fun away from their kids once in a while because his own mother was an alcoholic who partied a lot and abandoned him, but fails to realize that taking out his traumas on other women online is not the right way to deal with it. Besides how ridiculous it is to shame mothers for taking small breaks from parenting, from the way he talks about his own mother, it's obvious that he's never looked into his Native American heritage deeply enough to realize that his mother, and I'm sure many other people and women in his life, suffered the consequences of colonization in America. He's quick to claim to be a descendant of a chief and a native princess, a term that's often used to stereotype Indigenous women.
And I found out that my great-great-grandfather was a Micmac Indigenous chief married into another Indigenous princess's tribe. Like, I'm royalty. I don't know if you guys knew that.
But won't look into the history of what life was like for Native Americans since the Americas were settled by Europeans, and the more recent discoveries of over 10,000 Indigenous children's bodies who were victims of residential schools found in Canada. Something that seems right up Josh's alley since he's a Canadian of Indigenous heritage, cares for children so much, brings up his mother's and sister's struggles and traumas in his videos often, and even covers and capitalizes on missing persons cases that make headline news like Gabby Petito, who he talked and speculated about for hours on end.
He said it took quite a bit to catch up to you. So he's just like, look, I'm nervous. The adrenaline's pumping. You can see this guy is nervous, and the adrenaline is pumping. He seems like a polite young man. That's why this case is so perplexing. What the F? If you look at comments like, this guy's creepy, you definitely killed her. Again, my gut, and I don't like touching this shit. I feel like he is more of a timid guy, and she is more the aggressor.
It's pretty obvious that he's confused about many of the topics he brings up and has conflicting opinions about them. I want to give an example here of Josh being confused about what he stands for. He doesn't understand why lobbying is a legal practice in a democratic society.
I think lobbyists should be illegal.
And yet,
we need to lobby YouTube to demonetize any channels with kids on them, up to the point of legal consent for those children in that state.
why does he want to lobby YouTube if he's saying that lobbying is a corrupt practice and insinuating that in his tweet? He says we need to lobby YouTube to demonetize channels that exploit children without their legal consent.
We need to lobby YouTube to demonetize any channels with kids on them, up to the point of legal consent for those children in that state.
This is his reason for making fun of women, and specifically moms on the internet. They exploit their children for money without their consent. But let's take a look at his channel first. Did these children consent to being on Josh's channel and having him talk about them? This is just a small sample of clips where DCP uses exploited children for his own gain, not even bothering to cover up their faces until recently. Here's what he has to say about using these children for his own monetary gain.
I get this argument all the time. And again, maybe I have to do an entire video on this just because you guys are idiots who say this argument. Aren't you just exploiting the kids too? No, we're not. They have already been exploited. The damage is done.
He says he will take down his video on creators if they stop using their children for views, and until then, his own content using them for views and money will remain on his channel.
Which is why I'm still going to talk about them. If they decide to remove their content from the other channel with Everly and all the other kids, I will take down my videos. The promise is always there. If you take your content down, I will take mine down about you.
DCP fails to realize that sharing footage of exploited children, especially uncensored, is still part of unintentional offending. Thankfully, people are catching on to it.
Law enforcement agencies and nonprofit organizations have warned of an increase in the circulation of child exploitation material online over the course of the pandemic. This includes an increase in what are called unintentional offenders, people who may not mean to cause harm to the child depicted, but are sharing out of humor, outrage, or ignorance. For example, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children recently found that 75% of these materials on Facebook were shared by unintentional offenders.
Unintentional offending is a newer concept, and in my opinion, many creators who call out family and mommy channels, including myself, need to be more aware of what it means and how to avoid causing more harm to those who are already victims of exploitation. Josh thinks that people who don't support him are okay with child exploitation, but clearly that argument is very dumb and an excuse to keep making money off of victims. So far, the opposite seems to be true. People care so much about child safety that they realize when sharing this material can be harmful, even if done with good intentions. Besides making fun of women for the sake of saving their children, Josh shows his true nature by making racist and ableist comments, some of which he removes after being called out for them.
Dumb, because we got lost in downtown Detroit. Don't ever get lost as white people downtown Detroit, okay? White
I mean,
boys.
as anyone, really.
As anyone, don't. And these guys pull up in this giant Tahoe or this big giant black, I don't know what it was, Escalade or something, roll down their window and look at us and they say, "What are you listening to?" We roll up our window and the highway was right at the next exit. We hopped on the highway and took off. We were like, I don't even know. And I don't even know. That was scary because we don't know anything because we're from Canada, man. We don't have that kind of...
The clip cuts off, but he says, "We're from Canada. We don't have that kind of stuff here." What kind of stuff, Josh? Black people? I'm from Canada and I can confidently say there are plenty of black people in Canada, and yes, they drive cars.
Something tells me, and if, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is going to be a daughter. This is going to be Abigail is probably going to live with her family for the rest of her life. She's going to be either in long-term care or with her family, right? However it works out. Based on the content, for the time being, she's going to live with her parents. Now, I worked at a place called Christian Horizons in Ontario. Every Christian person that you've ever known at some point that goes to church has worked at Christian Horizons. And Christian Horizons is a like, they have all these houses all over Ontario for people like Abigail, okay? For people who have low functioning. I mean, the privacy thing is twofold in Abigail's case. Yes, it might not affect her future because she probably likely won't need to apply for jobs or be in the social scene dating and all that kind of stuff. You know, right? She doesn't, the same ramifications aren't the same for Abigail as it would be for someone who is non-verbal, who is just, you know, who is not autistic, right? That exists differently. But the other side of it is her private, because her future is different than a lot of these kids that are on YouTube, like Jess Fam, LeBrance, all these major big-time YouTubers. Those kids are going to grow up and they're not going to have any privacy, but they have to live normal lives, right? They go to college, high school, they do all these things. They're going to have futures where they're going to go to the workforce or not, whatever the case may be. With Abby, it's a little different. I've said this before because she obviously will not be doing the same things as a kid that doesn't have ID and autism, right? She likely will be in care for the rest of her life, whether through her parents or brother or through a system or whatever the case may be. And so her future of privacy isn't the same. And that's what I've made the argument for. But she cannot give informed consent. The end. Even though she is 16, doesn't matter. I've spoken to lots of people who are in the back end who deal with this type of world. Obviously, I worked in that world too. There's just no way that I don't think, and I think anybody worth their salt in this industry who's a psychologist or a therapist or a clinical psychologist, anybody like that in the world that understands autism and understands who Abigail is by watching her, can tell you, probably with most certainty, that there is absolutely no way that she can give consent. Okay, there's just not informed consent because she is a low-functioning autistic person, right? She needs support to wear diapers. She needs support to be fed. She's nonverbal, so there's not really anywhere she can consent there or understand the ramifications of what's happening, right? So right at that point right there, this video can stop. There's no the lavish lifestyle off the back of their daughter who has autism and IDD, who cannot consent nor will ever be able to consent. She cannot talk. She has a cognitive ability of some people place her between the age of 18 months and 6 years old. Right? These, specifically, Abby cannot consent, nor will she likely ever be able to fully consent with the understanding of what she's being put out there. And that's the only argument I need. I don't need anything else. Everybody's coming in my comments, getting all mad at me about how she can consent. No, it's just, and the fact that Asa and Priscilla both have said that she can consent to me is mind-blowing. And then said she can't, and then said she can, and they keep wavering back and forth. But so I think they land right now, if you were to ask them to say, no, she cannot consent, but they say, but we are her parents, we are. So she says that Abby can, consent. Abby is nonverbal. She cannot consent. IDD and autism, she has the capacity of, I think some people argue, between 18-month-old and a 2-year-old. And that's not shade, that's just that's who she is as a person with autism, right? So never will Abby probably ever be able to fully cognitively consent to what is being done to her. And I made the argument in the first video that it's not really about her future because her future... Look, I know that Abby's having fun. She doesn't know what's going on. But they're doing this to sell products. And she can never and will never be able to consent. What do you think about foster care? According to all statistics, it's fraught with neglect, abuse, and even financial exploitation. It's worse for children with disabilities. Here are the facts. Foster children with disabilities. Roughly 1/3 of children in foster care have disabilities. Okay, I'm not going to read this because it's not going to go to foster care. It's stupid. Okay? And also, if you think about this for a second, Abigail is a famous child with autism. If she ever got removed from that house, you know that because of her status, is the only probably good thing that would ever come from this. Because of her status and who she is, she'd be very well taken care of in the public sphere. I promise you that. So, your actions could lead to Abby being physically harmed. So she's telling me that what I'm doing here is going to lead to Abby's physical harm. Mentally abused and molested. Oh my god. That's where you landed here. You are sick, Josh Barbour, and you're disgusting. Never comment on my vlog ever again. You're gross for saying something like that. You can get commented that I'm ableist for doing these videos. And it's just, these people just throw words around like they don't even matter, actually. And those who call me ableist for saying that, you're the one actually being ableist.
Josh, and I was born in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, which is the I call it the electric wheelchair capital of the world, to be honest.
Erica Moniz covers this subject best, and I will link her videos below so you can hear her opinion and commentary on Josh's ableist comments. Another example of DCP not knowing what he's talking about is his new channel, the Josh Barbour Show, where he claims to give common sense commentary, which in reality is more of an attempt to toe the line of expressing his real beliefs while not trying to offend anybody. In the first episode, he talks about attending the Freedom Trucker Rally in Canada, a rally ran by white activists to protest mandated vaccination for truckers, a life-saving measure for so many following the outbreak of the pandemic in 2020. Social Spoons covered this subject while his live videos going to the event were still available to everyone and not just channel members, and they point out his hypocrisy and ignorance while giving real common sense commentary on the topic from the perspective of someone who's literate in Canadian politics. I could do a whole other video on this new channel, but another example I wanted to show here is the way Josh talks about Ethan Klein from the H3 podcast.
All right, so we want Ethan Klein. If you guys know anything about the H3 podcast, it's a podcast that enjoys tons of, wow, like they're huge. Like they had Trisha Paytas on. Ethan Klein would have other interviews on. I think his kind of time is kind of waning. But Ethan Klein did a live the other day. Ethan Klein just kind of sits there and talks all day long. And he makes tons of money, right?
Oh, you mean like this?
I honestly can tell you, I've never seen an H3 podcast in its entirety. And not because I'm not a fan or anything, that's just because I don't watch YouTube. But I know that Ethan Klein is one of the most successful YouTubers, makes a lot of money, connected to Teddy Fresh and everything else. And it's called lots of people out on the left side too, and has done some crazy stuff and has some fun. Seems to be a generally nice guy, kind of right down the middle. Like me. I think Ethan, like a lot of people, would say that they were pretty centrist, libertarian, but you can't even say that online anymore. A lot of people will keep their politics hidden now because it's just not. It's not advantageous to anybody to say what political party that you lean with or anything, because you'll just lose half of your people, right? So Ethan Klein clearly was canceled recently. He came out in a video that said, you know, hey guys, we lost all our sponsorships because I made some jokes, not so much jokes, whatever what you consider not jokes, and so all of his fans and haters went after all of his sponsors, and he lost every single one. But what did he do? He commented on James Charles being a bottom, which I don't need to explain it to you, but he basically was making an observation that he thought that James Charles was a bottom, which is probably considered more of a passive person in a gay relationship, right?
And then a caller came in and said, I don't know if you know that that's super like offensive.
And then Ethan Klein doubled down and said, oh yeah, that's funny, but hey, what if I guess which one you are? You know, would you tell me? And he's like, no. And it was like super effing awkward. Okay, it was really, really awkward. But that's what got Ethan Klein at this point canceled from all of his sponsorships. Then he came out and you know, it's pretty sad. One of the people that Ethan Klein came out against a little while ago was a person called Jordan Peterson. If you don't know who he is, he's a psychologist from Toronto who is a very, very right-wing like champion. Okay, he's very, very hard to argue against. He has written many books. He's very cherished on the right. He's a very good debater, and he's very, very smart.
Contentious Canadian psychologist and author Jordan Peterson, free-ranging, reductive back and forth about topics Peterson has no expertise in: climate, race, the transgender community.
So you think that a lot of what's going on with people that want to change their gender identity is creativity?
No, I don't think so.
So what do you...
I know so.
This misinformation on climate.
There's no such thing as climate, right? Climate and everything are the same word.
And this one on race.
I am white. Actually, that's a lie, too. I'm kind of tan. And he was actually not black. He was sort of brown.
And so Ethan Klein they were talking about cancel culture, and Ethan Klein is against cancel culture, but wanted to cancel other people. And he wanted to cancel Jordan Peterson. And Jordan Peterson wrote this, said, "You will be held to higher and higher, and soon impossible to maintain ethical standards by the very mob you currently wish to please. Then you will make a mistake, and they will devour you with glee. Please take this warning seriously. I liked you." See, Jordan Peterson said, "I liked Ethan Klein." And what has happened? They have devoured Ethan Klein with glee. And the fact that Jordan said that, and that was January 14th this year, so a couple of months ago, and Jordan Peterson is right, and that's where this conversation was going. You cannot maintain the standards the left has held because you will be eaten by your own eventually. The center is different. The center right will sit and they will befriend everybody. I will not hate you because you don't think the same way as I think. I would love to see certain people canceled, for sure, not everybody, but there are certain people who definitely deserve it. And Jordan was right. This is where we are headed.
It's so easy to just become a reactionary punk, you know.
Elon's dick on Twitter all day.
Sorry, dude. I can't live with myself with doing whatever white national pandering you do, even though it'd probably be more profitable. At the end of the day, you know, I want my kids to be proud of me. And
Josh admitted he's never watched the full episode of the H3 podcast, but said the podcast's time is waning, called Ethan a centrist libertarian, saying he is scared to speak on his political opinion, not knowing Ethan has a show dedicated to expressing his political opinions. Josh continued to show he knows very little about the podcast throughout the whole segment. He goes on to discuss Ethan's homophobic comment on the podcast in a way that shows he doesn't really understand why it was harmful. He can't even properly summarize the situation, probably because he only saw clips of it on Twitter. It's obvious that he has no knowledge on LGBTQ topics, because earlier in the same video, he himself makes homophobic and ignorant remarks about the community, and this wouldn't be the first time this happens, even if out of ignorance and not malice.
But if you look at the population of the LGBTQ community, it's like less than 1% of the entire world, right? That has changed the landscape of predatory culture. And now that the LGBTQ, and now that the world, and now that these guys are trying to call themselves maps, I call them that because that's an acceptable word on YouTube, I get away with it. We know what they are.
All under the guise of common sense commentary, of course. He continues to make comments on Ethan's clear cancellation, which wasn't really a cancellation at all. After all the negative and ignorant comments he made, he still tries his luck at getting on the HD podcast as soon as they mentioned him in a segment on child exploitation, where they naively used his skewed analytics on the statistics of kidfluencer follower demographic and commented that he would love to come on the show. The analytics the DCP presents are skewed because even after paying a third party to access them, he doesn't realize that they don't show users under 13 years of age who follow these kid influencers. That's because children under 13 cannot join social media, so most of these young users lie about their age to sign up or use their parents' accounts. I mean, who hasn't signed up to a website or social media with a fake age when they were younger? I know I definitely did. I know Josh was already an adult when the internet became accessible to everyone, so he might not know this, but it's very common for children to lie about their age to sign up to and go on websites they shouldn't, especially when parents aren't very attentive.
It prompted me to reach out to Social Book. I said, "Hi there, my name's Josh. I've been getting some major pushback that your analytics are way off." And so this is what he writes. Our YouTube data is actually the most accurate on the market and are used as industry benchmarks. We have hundreds of thousands of YouTubers signed up on our platform that provide a good way of validating our data using their official data from YouTube. So what he's saying here, to explain it like you're 5, is they have like thousands upon hundreds of thousands of channels inside of Social Book, okay? And they're comparing their analytics to those channels that they know are real.
For us, that is actually, in many ways, the key audience because they're the ones who are selecting our program. The young children who watch our program are not the ones who are in control of the device. They're not the ones who are actually necessarily deciding to watch our program.
Again, the topic of Josh commenting about things he knows very little about can have a whole video made on it, but for the sake of time, I'm going to move on for now. In my opinion, the ultimate detraction from his original message of saving the children is how aggressive he is towards the people he talks about. Josh is taking on every topic he talks about personally, gets his feelings hurt, and holds a vendetta against the creators he set out to expose, to the point of telling his followers to go and picket outside the influencers' physical houses, or sending people to their workplaces, as well as harassing and stalking them online himself.
You get angry and not just surface level snark and make fun of your slippers and shit, you definitely poked the fat dad bod bear. You definitely poked it. And so I'm going to do everything in my power within the terms of service to uncover everything about your past, starting with your dad. And in her Instagram story, she said she had a big conversation with her dad, and she said these words, and I'm glad I recorded it. Her and her dad are exactly the same, she said. She said, "My dad and I are the same person." Well, if I'm right, and I'm going to say the word allegedly because I'm not stupid, Love Meg's dad went to prison for second-degree murder. So I'm not sure of the entire details of it. We're uncovering it all right now. We're digging in. We're going to find out the rap sheet and everything else. We're going to actually go into it. I'm going to find out everything I can about you now. So, okay, fair's fair, right? I'm not going to ever dox you. I'm not going to make comments like this on my page, but I'm going to find out about you. Because I don't like when people hate me as much as you do and I have no idea who you are. So, fair's fair, okay? Cool.
Outside of your house with people. I'm going to your hometown and I'm going to picket you. I'm going to bring a bunch of people to hang outside your house and picket what dirtballs you are. The next step is the next step. That's what's going to happen.
I'm sending a couple people there to find out actually who has special needs there.
luckily I can say, no, I haven't had anything scary or creepy or anything to cross the line. I'm very, very lucky in that aspect. So this one,
I mean, part of that could be that she's very unknown.
He thinks it's because she's unknown. I think it's because he didn't get to her on time. But we can all have our own opinions. Just like other topics, he usually has no knowledge about the influencers and any people he talks about prior to covering them.
I've been following her for a little while just kind of see what's going on. There's nothing, I don't know. Oh, she is good, but let's figure it out ourselves because I don't really know who she is either.
And doesn't take the time to do research about what he's talking about, unless it's his own story.
I was actually doing a ton of research into my own story. A lot of people accuse me of not doing any research, so I thought I'd research my own story. And that says a lot.
His research on influencers consists of asking his followers who are biased against these people already about tea and their opinions on the creators, then echoing their thoughts on his own channel. Basically, he's a reactionary opinion channel who fronts as a common sense commentary channel, and many of us are opinion channels, except we don't pretend to be experts about the subjects we talk about, at least not without doing some research first. He also has mods who he trusts to do his research for him, and for general advice about his channel, but not all of them seem so trustworthy, like the Glarer, a creator who admitted to harming his child.
Psychological special needs at this point. I'm quite ashamed of this actually, but and we had our arguments. There was one time where it got very physical, but I mean he was 6'2" at the time, and I told him to put up his hands. We had our arguments. There was one time where it got very physical, but I mean he was 6'2".
In my opinion, Josh seems to do very little research about the topics he talks about and the people around him, and that carelessness leads him to make decisions and say things that he doesn't fully understand the gravity of. When other creators call him out, he DOXs them, then strikes their channel in an attempt to silence and scare them, which rarely works. Nonetheless, his constant misuse of YouTube's platform in terms of service shows he doesn't care about fair use, and is willing to risk his own platform and voice to silence and harm others in the same place he is in.
Where I land is, every discourse should be allowed. It doesn't matter. Let people like me and everybody else decide what they want to believe by listening to all sides.
YouTube is a platform where we should be free to discuss topics and other creators without being silenced or threatened, like he does on his channel, going so far as to find out about creators' family members who aren't public and spreading rumors about them, but discussing his public words and actions is unacceptable to him. To me, that just shows insecurity and fragility, and I wonder if he takes exposing creators so far as to DOX them, because his own online presence is so vast and pronounced, and he's afraid that there is someone out there like him who will do to him what he does to others when it comes to breaching their privacy. I believe that his past as a worship leader taught him how to present his opinions in a way that influences others to accept his message and evoke strong emotions, which he now uses to present his toxic opinions to an audience on YouTube. This is what keeps his audience bound and submitted to him. Cold Tea Queen has made a great video on this topic, which I linked below. This next part is a little heavy, but while we're on the topic of being a worship pastor, recently a clip has surfaced from a video that's been removed since, where Josh alleges that an SA incident happened in his church, which he failed to report to the authorities, choosing to trust his higher-ups on the matter. Many creators have already made videos on this, linked below, but I will summarize the situation briefly. In the original clip, Josh alleges that an incident of child SA happened in his church while he was still employed, and him and other staff members were told to keep quiet about it. He said he assumed it was taken care of legally because that's what he was told by his pastors. But the problem is that regardless of roles of people in church and what their responsibilities are, every adult in Canada is considered a mandated reporter, meaning that if they are aware of harm coming to a child, they must report it to the authorities. Josh clarified in the community post on YouTube that the story was absolutely reported and he is looking into whether the person was charged, meaning he was still unsure of how the matter was handled. He then made a video to clarify further, saying he absolutely trusted his pastor and believed that the matter was taken care of properly. This directly contradicts what he said in the original clip.
So that you guys can hear with my words what actually happened with this meeting at my church. It's actually a pretty big deal. Whenever there's a scandal inside of a church, they will have a meeting because they don't want the staff to talk to the media about these scandals, right? Like any corporation or anything like that. So the meeting at the church was because the person was already removed from the church, was already reported to police and all the authorities that needed place. People are talking about me being a mandated reporter and all this kind of stuff, and they're making all these allegations against me. It's absolutely not true. So here's how the story went down. I am a worship pastor. I'm not a youth pastor. This was not my department. I had nothing. I had no idea about this until the meeting. So the meeting comes down. They say, hey, this guy did this thing. I don't even to this day know what it was. They just said it was inappropriate and it's been dealt with. And they said, rest assured, it's been dealt with. The parents have come in. Everything's kind of, legally. So we trusted our pastor. We said, okay, sounds good. Looks like you have everything under control. But then he said at the end of the meeting, he said, and if the media comes to you guys, you do not say anything. You come to us, because any church, especially a church of my size in any town, if a scandal goes down, it's going to be reported. And to this day, it wasn't reported, likely because it was solved. I was not aware of an essay and didn't report or anything like that. As far as I'm aware, I don't know what happened after it got reported. I'm hoping the guy's in jail or whatever the case may be. I wonder if the parents press charges. And I also wonder if the parents asked the pastors of the church to keep it quiet, because a lot of victims don't want their stories out in the world, which I will never do. I'll never put this person's story out. I don't even know the person. And so partly that is the reason the pastor said, hey, look, it's not your business to put this child's story out to the world. And so that's kind of where we were. And it makes sense, right? If you work in a place and something happens, you don't go just tell the media. And if the media comes talking to us, we were told to talk to the pastors. They never did talk to me.
He says he's sure the police was involved, and he's sure the matter was taken care of, but then admits no one knows to this day what happened, and that the only consequence for the offender was getting fired. He keeps saying that the victim's story wasn't his to tell to the media, but no one is saying he should have gone to the media. The moral action in this case would be to go to the authorities, even if anonymously, to make sure that they are aware of and handling the situation. Saying this also contradicts everything he's done so far when sharing cases of underage victims, particularly ones that are already being handled by government authorities. Now, whether Josh removed and backtracked on his original statement because he felt guilty for not reporting the incident himself because he wants to save his online reputation, or for other reasons, we may never know.
If I stay silent on this, I'm complicit when they do it to the next person.
Regardless, there are plenty of creators who are reporting on all things Josh is trying to hide and cover up, and fortunately many people are waking up to the truth. B Honey made a video on this topic from a perspective of a pastor's child, which was very interesting to see, and I linked in the description. The DCP lore goes deep, and I could talk about him going more in depth in the future. I'm not sure if I should though, because he's notorious for being terrified of cartoon characters, to the point of trying to take their channels down. Oh wait, he does that to anyone who dares to make commentary videos about him, which is the exact same thing he does on his own channel. Do you think Josh is the right person to be spreading the message about saving children in the way he does? Is his message really worth making fun of mothers to the extent he does, going further than just exposing their exploitation and bad behavior? Josh thinks he's the right messenger for this cause because of his amount of subscribers, but it's been alleged that he buys followers, and regardless, in my opinion, the amount of subscribers or followers doesn't correlate to the leader being a good person, or even correlate to the message being a good one. There's been plenty of examples of that in the world's history, and sometimes all that big numbers mean is that a lot of like-minded people are congregating in the same space. And why would someone who's so confident in themselves and their message need to strike and take down channels who call them out? Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and thank you for being here today and watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.